So today we're going to be talking about thalamic esotropia, and the thalamus is like a way station for the convergence of information both going up and coming down. So it's receiving a lot of information, it's processing a lot of information, and it's also the substation that modulates that information. So a lot of action going on in the thalamus. So even though the cranial nerves 3, 4, and 6 do not live in the thalamus, 3 and 4 live in the midbrain, and 6 lives in the pons, the motor control for some supranuclear movements is mediated in the thalamus. And so the two you need to know about are at the junction, the thalamo-mesencephalic junction, we have the control centers for the vertical gaze, and you should look at that video on vertical gaze deviations. And so patients who have dorsal midbrain syndromes or thalamic strokes or thalamo-mesencephalic junction lesions often have vertical gaze abnormalities because the vertical gaze center lives in the thalamo-mesencephalic junction, and that is the rostral interstitial medial longitudinal fasciculus, as well as the interstitial nucleus of Cajal, the vertical gaze center. And that vertical gaze center is talking to cranial nerves 3 and 4. But today's topic is actually esotropia, thalamic esotropia, and that's because the near convergence center is also rostral to the dorsal midbrain. We don't know exactly where the convergence center is, but the convergence center is above the Edinger-Westphal nucleus in the midbrain. And so we have the thalamo-mesencephalic near and convergence center talks to the third nerve nucleus, including the Edinger-Westphal in the midbrain, to both constrict the pupils and to converge. And that is a synkinetic triad at near. So when we look at something at near, our pupil gets smaller, we converge, and we change the accommodated power of our lens so we can read at near. That synkinetic triad probably is being mediated at the level of the thalamus in the near convergence center, and therefore you can get convergence spasm leading to an esotropia, even though that has nothing to do with the sixth nerve, which lives in the pons. It's overaction of the medial rectus rather than underaction of the lateral rectus. And so sometimes with a thalamic lesion, we can get an esotropia, but that's from too much medial rectus firing, probably too much convergence from the convergence center to the third nerve in the midbrain. And so thalamic esotropia is a very uncommon finding. However, you should be considering it in patients who have thalamic lesions, who have an esotropia, and probably the mechanism is convergence spasm and not paresis and not related to the sixth nerve at all, which lives in the pons.